Welcome, everybody, to this presentation. We'll touch on many similar topics that my colleague covered as a result of our research in integrating the global supply chain in the aviation industry using Airbus as a use case study. So I will begin by talking about Airbus and the use of RFID and blockchain processes, managing technology vulnerabilities. I will cover some risk management, food for thought topics to cover, and scalable digital aircraft operations. I will start closing my presentation up with some practical examples that we've came across as a result of our research, and then some key points for future research in the next phase of this continued ongoing research that we've got going in the College of Business at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. So why do we use Airbus as a use case study? Mainly because I represent Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. We're aeronautical in nature. We have a flight school campus in Prescott, Arizona, and the main campus is in Daytona Beach, Florida. And I work for the worldwide campus with 135 locations within the United States and all around the world. So as my colleague touched on earlier on, there is a need for pilot certification validation. So 500,000, 500,000 pilots in the next 20 years. So we're starting to think big data and how to better manage the certification validation of the crew, of the pilots, and everything that trickles down from there. Supply chain parts tracking, as my colleague also covered. That's why I like to go first, because then they have to repeat what I say. But it complements the lean procurement, vendor managed inventory, where the reordering process is handled by the vendor, and manufacturing, repair, and overhaul, where many airlines have this agreement. So if an Airbus breaks down in a different country, they get a loaner part, and then they refurbish it or they overhaul it and then replace it without any delays to the customer. So the main objective here is the value chain visibility, is to promote customer satisfaction in the experience of the customer, whether the customer is another airline company or the passenger itself. Management of shared digital services comes into play when there is a way to share revenue management among the trusted partners in the blockchain. It makes it more secure. And speaking of security, the second bullet, subject to attacks from insecure access services. The blockchain platform is secure itself, but when you are using a smartphone app, for example, or other portals, then there have been more vulnerabilities in the open door from these apps, and thereby led into the Hyperledge Trust Protocol project, which Airbus has joined with IBM, with Samsung and Fujitsu. And also the other point is increasing digital economy, the challenge of maintaining and creating trust is also very evident. That needs to be dealt with risk management capabilities. Scalable digital aircraft operations, as my colleague also said, we have to begin by capturing the data, and Airbus is using RFID for capturing the data, and we're looking at blockchain mainly to be the data carrier so that we can park it and secure it and only distribute it with the trusted partners. With the performing business analytics of the data, then you come to make optimal decision-making process while you're sharing the data with the blockchain trusted partners, this increases the efficiency, accuracy, and control of every stakeholder within that group. Gain competitive advantage by implementing a continuous process improvement. So now we're talking about lean and agile processes that fall into play and continue to make the operational characteristics more efficient. So here's one example that my colleague took at the air show in Singapore. We have the A350 XWB that has RFID maintainable parts. And we're talking about thousands of parts. And this is just one aircraft. One practical example is the life vest package that you find underneath your seat. And this is how the employee scans the life jacket package into the system. And that multiplied by 1,000 more parts that have to be accounted for, including seats and other spare parts that must be cataloged and logged at some platform. This is one, and if I can use my red pointer. Oh, here it is. Right there, if you see it, that's the RFID's reader by the red arrow. As the baggage comes through, it gets tagged, and we think that this would be an ideal place to store the data in the blockchain so that we can share it with the trusted stakeholders, and that way they can help the customers. It proves to be 99.9% accurate, so that we can reduce the lost baggage ratio of 60% safe. So there is a 40% somewhere somebody is losing customer, making a customer unhappy. So that with the collaboration of RFID and blockchain processes together, it becomes a homogeneous activity, and therefore increasing the value chain visibility and making the customer happy. Another example is the increased demand for aircraft. So we see that in the Asia-Pacific region, the demand is over 15,000 units in the next few years. North America, 8,330 units, and in Europe, the demand forecast is about 7,500 units, and this is in the next 20 years. Multiply that by 1,000 parts, and everybody that is involved in the stakeholder trusted partnership of the blockchain. So that you can see how important it is and critical to establish a platform like their Hyperledge protocol, that they're trying to optimize that trusted protocol so that it's more secure and less vulnerable to attacks or theft or cybercrime, cybersecurity. Key points supporting our next phase of research is that as RFID and the blockchain and new technologies are emerging and they're used more widely, these are becoming essential tools within the global supply chain. And also, we have to increase the integrity throughout the system, with the information and process security becoming more crucial. Another key point is to investigate the impact of manufacturer standards on their suppliers. This is especially true across global production networks, the GPNs, that are manufacturing the same part in many different parts of the world. So it has to be a cookie cutter, not only same physical characteristics, but same operating characteristics as well. And this was part of another research that I presented at the National University of Singapore last year with the global supply chain manufacturing networks and standardization, kind of like how we have the ISO. And to finish off, like to break ground, hot off the press, This is our new partnership with Airbus at our worldwide facility in Huntsville, Alabama, where they're coming up with the notion of smart factories, which entails the design, the testing, and the research involved into the next generation of how we come to build the newer aircraft without compromising quality. I would say maximizing quality. Ευχαριστώ. And before I go, I would like to give a shout out to University of Nicosia, everybody that put together this massive endeavor of such a successful conference. Dr. Yosif, I'd like to recognize Dr. Sula for her pioneering efforts and putting Cyprus on the global map. Thank you.